33-yard line.
These two
Sick.
are, I mean, coming into the game, the last 3 games, Pat White and Steve Slayton have accounted for over 63% of the total offense. That number's only going to go north after tonight. Watching Pat White, sometimes he'll pull it, and then the defense gets occupied with White and his ability to make a play. That's when they come right back with Steve Slayton. You get used to what Slayton's going to do. He'll throw Owen Schmidt into the game and use the power. They're throwing everything at this Pitt defense, and Pitt is just wearing down as this game continues on.
These two guys have run for 343 yards together. The Mountaineers are going to go over 400 rushing yards for the night on this carry. First down at the 27-yard line. Man, impressive rushing.
Mike, this is a great example of Slayton. Watch when he takes the handoff. You can just see him when he makes his mind up. See the hole that's already been opened up by that offensive line. Right, that acceleration, that burst tells you how unique he is. Watch this little boom right there. That acceleration, very few backs have this early in their careers. And for a true freshman, that has been on display now for 6 games, 6 straight games here in the second half of the season.
A dozen on that carry, and there they are at 412 yards. Pat White just runs it into the middle. Aaron Andrews has more of this combo of freshmen.
Guys, as much as we talk about Slayton and White, those two give so much credit to West Virginia's offensive line. They said we could not be as successful as we are without that entire line and how hard they work. And of course, they talk about the up-tempo practices that they have. Because of those practices, they're not allowed to walk. They're run to every station. They say our offensive line runs faster than opposing teams' defenses, guys.
A great point. And they're athletic. They average 6'6", 292 pounds across the front. In today's game, that's very svelte. That's athletic group.
A couple of yards there with Slayton. Rich Rodriguez just came in. We have no fat guys on our offense. We have a lot of athletic guys. And Garen Justice, 6'9", he's the right tackle. We have 2 senior tackles. You know, when you come in as a new head coach, you have players who were recruited by the prior staff. And when Rodriguez came in, he said, we were very upfront. We told his dad and Garen, you know what, small town in West Virginia, Gilbert, West Virginia, I don't know if you're going to be able to be an offensive lineman with the way we play and what we do. I said, okay, great. And the dad said, you know what, Coach, we hear you. He's going to stay, but he's going to give you everything he has and be a very tough, disciplined, reliable player. He's a 3.5-year starter. And just threw a block to take White down to the 5. Another 18-yard pickup. He's got 237 or 238 here. This is just unbelievable.
For people who follow recruiting, for a head coach to tell a player, you know what, sorry, bud, you just don't have what it takes to play here. Best of luck. And for the father to step in and the kid to say, you know what, I still want to come to West Virginia, and I still just want to be given a chance. And for his dad to say, maybe he doesn't end up playing, but he's going to give you everything he has. And now, 3.5 years as a starter in his senior year. That's special.
I added too much to that. He just has 220 yards, still a record for a West Virginia quarterback. Now White hands it to Slayton, who's in again for a touchdown. Slayton scores for the 3rd time tonight. 2 runs, 1 reception, and West Virginia completely dominating Pittsburgh.
Mike, I know they still have to play South Florida, and I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but I think they'll beat South Florida personally. I really look forward to seeing West Virginia against an athletic SEC defense like Georgia or like LSU in the Sugar Bowl. That will be a lot of fun to see if anybody right now can slow down this dynamic duo of Pat White and Steve Slayton.
8 runs, 85 yards. White sets the all-time quarterback rushing record at West Virginia. He has 2 touchdowns. Slayton has 2 touchdowns and 165 yards. They're having a happy Thanksgiving. 3 touchdowns for Slayton tonight. That is 15 for Steve really only in the last half of this season.
One last thing I want to touch on about West Virginia. It's something that, to me, separates a good team from great is the chemistry issue. Last year, chemistry, I don't think, was the greatest for this West Virginia team. And I think this year, they're young enough, and they're so eager to listen to their head coach and their assistant coaches that I think it's really affected the outcome of this year and the way they've been able to be, I think, much further ahead than where a lot of people expected them to be. They are a tight-knit group.
LaRod Stevens-Howling got a nice bounce, then lost the football. It's recovered by the Mountaineers. Akeem Jackson will come up with the fumble recovery. And Tandy Smith made the hit. This Pittsburgh team that has had such a tough time with returning the ball on kickoffs this year sees it in its final game of this season.
Mike, what else do you say? I mean, if you're a younger player from Pitt, it's the last game of the year, you're not bowl eligible, all you can do is hold on to this sick feeling in your stomach in a rivalry game, try to remember it, try to pull it back next year and the year after that, because this is as bad as it gets if you're a Pittsburgh Panther.
Tyler Palco will have another year. He's a senior. Greg Lee, I would assume, would be back next year. The junior receiver, outstanding receiver. The Mountaineers can try to run it out here in the last 5.5. Let me remind you that SportsCenter will wrap up Thanksgiving 2005. Steve Levy and John Anderson. Happy Thanksgiving to those guys. See what Ron Dane did in overtime to help the Broncos beat the Cowboys. LeBron and the Cavs, very hot in the NBA, going for 9 in a row. And one of the most touching stories of this college football season involving Charlie Weiss and Notre Dame. Their great return to prominence is such a significant story, but one individual story from one game and just one play call will stick with people for a long time. If you didn't see that story, make sure you stay around for SportsCenter. Coming up after we're done. Holding flag comes in as Slayton is brought down.
Holding on the offense. Number 65, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Second time on Jeremy Sheffy tonight. He had a personal foul face mask in the first half. You mentioned Slayton with all these touchdowns. He now has 15 total touchdowns this season. Terrell Sutton, Northwestern, great year. He has 19. And how about the guy we saw on opening night of our Thursday night package? Sidney Rice, South Carolina. Part of that Steve Spurrier-led turnaround. Rice, phenomenal athlete and receiver with 11 grabs in the season.
He's going to be a superstar for Steve Spurrier. I remember Steve Spurrier Jr. saying, you see that guy over there who's at the time still in sweatpants? He said, that's probably our best player by far athletically. And of course now we've seen that. We've seen what he could do. He helped with South Carolina have a great year.
And of course, remember, we saw them play Central Florida.
Well, how about that?
And George O'Leary has taken them to the Conference USA Championship game coming up next weekend on ESPN. Slate across the 25, first down. UCF lost that game, then spun off 8 of their last 10 to finish at 8-3 on the season.
Great year. We had this debate on College Game Day last week about the National Coach of the Year, and there's so many deserving candidates. It's so hard to pick just one, and I think Joe Paterno, after beating Michigan State in East Lansing to wrap up a share of the Big Ten championship and the automatic spot in the BCS, probably will be the coach who ultimately wins it. But there are a lot of others. Charlie Weiss, of course, at Notre Dame. George O'Leary, Steve Spurrier. I put Pete Carroll up on the board in my mind after what they've had to deal with this year. Not only the streak, 18 different starters on defense because of the injuries, and still trying to block out all the distractions and winning every game and it never being good enough.
We have fourth down coming up here, 4th and 8 with 3.5 to go. With our friend Mike Gottfried last Saturday for the Michigan State-Penn State game, Mike made a very interesting point. He said, what about Mac Brown? The guy who couldn't win the big game, quote unquote. Well, they beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and they've won all these big games all year long.
And not only that, the thing that you have to love about Texas is that when they play teams they're supposed to beat and dominate, they do in the first half. That's why we were talking about Texas and Texas A&M. That game tomorrow in College Station could get ugly and get ugly early. And it's just because of this mentality that Texas has this year. Mac Brown deserves the credit. Of course, Vince Young's been talked at a lot about what he's been able to do.
Go ahead, do the promo.
Tomorrow,
it's Thanksgiving. I'm giving.
You're actually going to one of these
Do
games.
the promo. Come on,
Texas and
buddy.
Texas A&M. You get a chance to see Texas secure the Big 12 South on their way to meet Colorado.
Don't forget the time.
It plays Nebraska. And 3:30 Eastern, of course, they get started at noon Eastern, Texas and Texas A&M, and
Nice.
used to be a great matchup. You know, Mac Brown can't win the big game, yet he's beat. Is A&M still a big game?
Finish the promo.
He's beaten them 5 times in a row.
Nebraska, Colorado, 3:30 Eastern on ABC Friday. Gosh, give you one chance to do something today, and you can't get it
your
done.
deal, man? You're going to that game.
Our buddies Tim Brandt, Susie Schuster, nice and warm out in Boulder. We'll see them for the
Is
game
it warm
tomorrow
out there?
afternoon. It's warmer than it is here. It's cold.
You're going to get snow tomorrow?
No. It's beautiful in Boulder in the 40s.
All right.
Temperature's nice. Nice day tomorrow in Colorado. They have 20 seniors, including Joel Klatt playing his final game. They have 10 walk-on seniors out of their 20. Guys have been through a lot. 4th and 8. Just hand it to Slayton. Why not? He's slung down at the 21. So if that's the final carry for Slayton, he and White tonight combined for 398 yards. 56 carries, 4 touchdowns.
My goal is 200 yards. My goal is to try to get him to 200 yards.
Well, they'll get the Wrangler player of the game, which is very important. But we'll share that. They each get one leg of the Wrangler jeans as they get 498 yards and 4 touchdowns. But on Thanksgiving, as we award pies, I think there's no question they should get it. The timeout taken here by West Virginia.
You want to
They
let
only
EA?
had 10 players on the field.
Maybe we should let EA. It's the
Aaron?
first time Aaron has
Let
had
her
a
go
chance
first?
to give a pie out to
I'll go first. It's like,
a player. Hey, we're lobbing you a gimme here. We're
Go
giving
ahead.
you who do you want to go with?
does it have to be player boy?
It could be anybody.
I'm going to give it to these fans. Are
Oh.
you joking how cold it is and
Good
they stick
job.
around? Can I give them the pie, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
give it to
here,
him.
guys, it's frozen.
Give it to him. Perfect. Perfect.
So my pie goes to the West Virginia fans.
There you
That's
go.
nice. That's nice.
That's the first. I'm
That's good.
gonna go with the obvious. I'm gonna go with Pat White, the quarterback who I was really impressed with. We're gonna warm it up for him. I'm going pecan pie for
Yeah,
Pat White.
and I'll go with Steve Slayton, the running back. By the way, we're sparing no expense. Don't worry about the expense. This is a $4.99 store-bought pie. I
We
mean,
can do
come
better
on.
next year. That's our goal. Homemade pies live from Pittsburgh.
Pass is caught by Kinder, just shy of the 30-yard line. I mean, I'm embarrassed.
Do we even still give them out?
Yeah, we get rich. Okay. Absolutely. People yell at. We have managers yelling at us on the sideline. Give out the pie, the dessert award.
That's a first for the fans.
But for the fans, that is good.
Yeah, that's well deserved.
You know that in all seriousness.
All right.
How do you follow when you say in all seriousness and these guys show up? But
Yeah.
you know, West Virginia fans have gotten criticism. There you see the Sports Center stories I had for some students who have done some very silly and foolish things in celebration after games and different things like that. Pass complete to Derek Kinder, shy of the first down, 2nd and 5 coming up. Credit these fans. It is so cold here tonight. Wind chills around 0. The number of fans, not just students, but just the fans who have stayed here in every form of available warmth is just shocking. I'm shocked at the number of people still here. And these are very proud fans. They're very proud of their state of West Virginia, which is too often the butt of criticism and jokes. I give them so much credit for being here tonight.
They better get reservations to Atlanta early January because
They'll go.
They're heading. I know they will. They're heading to the BCS. In my mind, I know they still have to win a game, but in my mind, they're going to the BCS to take on LSU or Georgia. Maybe Georgia beats LSU.
SEC not set for their title game. Neither is the ACC. We need a representative, either Virginia Tech or Miami. That will be decided as Feast Week presented by Intel continues with college football primetime presented by Polo.